speaking to encryption. It can have very important information as you take steps to encrypt. As Sean pointed out earlier, encryption is kind of it's a mess. It is. It's not user-friendly. It's sometimes complex and what have you. But, those are the steps that will get you to the point where you're protected from unauthorized disclosure of protected confidential information. So what does Yahoo do with your information? Now I know, just about everybody nowadays is using their firm domain name, which is probably managed by a large provider. But not everybody does. When I see attorneys, solos in particular, they're using Yahoo Gmail accounts to communicate. Well, let's look at some of the terms of service for those providers. Yahoo says that they have the right to analyze all communications content, such as mail and messenger content, including instant messages and SMS messages sent across their network. So they might be reading your confidential email, and you've given them authorization to do that. Gmail, they reserve the right to analyze your content, including emails. Google Drive. Well, Google Drive is a storage. Similar to Dropbox. Similar to Dropbox. You can upload documents to it and from your computer and store them there. When you do, those documents are automatically OCR, meaning that they're optical character recognition. So a scanned document that may be scanned from right through a scanner that runs it through a sheet fed scanner, which doesn't maintain any of the original document metadata because you're just scanning it through creating images from the physical paper. Well, what they do when they get it is they actually have software that will read the scanned image and reconvert it into text, which they can then use for their own marketing purposes. So confidential files that are stored on Google Drive are immediately accessible to Google. And this is part of the terms of service, which is kind of amazing when you look at it. You give Google and those we work with a worldwide license to use, host, store, reproduce, modify, create derivative works, et cetera, et cetera. And this license continues even if you stop using our services. Good to know.
Now, in fairness to them, they've said that those terms of service are necessary for the way that their service works, but it's still kind of terrifying if you're putting anything up there that's, client information.
Assume it's no longer yours.
Yeah.
You've given up rights to it.
Dropbox. Scrap for you. They say that they are prohibited from viewing your documents that are posted on Dropbox unless they absolutely have to for network maintenance, unless they have to. Office 365. They are much more circumspect in how they deal with information, but they too indicate, and this is part of pretty much standard terms of service, they will look at your documents if they have to, as part of their network maintenance.
Just
Go ahead.
quick note about Office 365 in general, because a lot of people consider it, it's useful, it's got some built-in e-discovery, but, and this is from my real-world experience dealing with Office 365 e-discovery, they are fantastic with their speed and responsiveness to get your data up to their cloud. Your data gets uploaded very quickly, it's accessible in their environment very quickly, and for your day-to-day uses, it's all quick, it's all very easy. As soon as you decide you want to take down any bulk quantity of data from Office 365, let's say to respond to a discovery order, they throttle you down to a 1 megabyte chunk stream of data, which makes what should take 30 seconds to download take 7 hours. So realize that if you move your data to the cloud, and this is just a general rule, the speed that you move it up there with may not in fact be the speed you get it back down to. So just occurred to me and mentioned here, I think we're going to try well.
Again, this is Office 365. Can they disclose your data without your permission? And they say, well, generally not, unless we're really happy to satisfy legal requirements. like search warrants, simple discovery requests, etc.
You'll notice something of a difference in the ones that we just showed you, and that's because, that's mainly as a result of the fact that Yahoo and Gmail are free services, as opposed to Dropbox, which you're paying at least $10 a month for, or Office 365, which goes $5, $10, $20, up to $100 a month for different plans. Because essentially, any service online that, they say any service that's free on the internet, you are the product of the service because your data is being sold to advertisers. So if you're paying for it, you're in a marginally better position, but you still can't be confident that your data is not going to get out there.
The other question, where's your data being stored? You put something online, Office 365, Dropbox, Gmail, wherever it is. Where's it being stored? Is Ireland going to recognize your attorney-client privilege? Because your data might be stored there. Currently, there's a lawsuit going on between the Department of Justice and Microsoft because the DOJ, in a narcotics investigation, requested email that for Microsoft, that Microsoft has stored, as they do, in Ireland. And they said, well, wait a minute. Ireland, that's beyond the jurisdiction of the United States. We're not going to give it to you. DOJ said, well, I can access it here, and you're a company here. You have to give it to me. That's on appeal now in the Second Circuit. There's no decision. But again, the point is, where's your information going? And what's the obligation of the jurisdiction where it's sent to maintain confidentiality? Because it's probably that law is going to apply, not New Jersey. Office 365 specifically markets itself by telling you they maintain their information within the United States. And they tell you exactly where in the servers that they maintain the information on. For that reason. You know, as Sean pointed out, they're selling a product, they want you to use their product, they want you to feel safe about doing it. Dropbox, where's my information stored? Answer, around the world. Okay. One solution, as we pointed out, not an easy solution necessarily, but one solution to the problem of exfiltration of data is encryption. It says email encryption, but you can encrypt anything you choose to that's made out of ones and zeros data. Now, recent ABA legal technology survey found that 71% of participating attorneys rely on a disclaimer in their email to protect the confidentiality of it, and only 35% of lawyers use email encryption. And that's because encryption, and even though you might be able to do it, there's no guarantee that your client will be able to do it. As a matter of fact, every reason that your client won't be able to encrypt what you send them as an encrypted archive or message. What is encryption?
Just scrambled writing, really. You're taking what is normal readable text, or in the case of a file, something that you could assemble from beginning to end and make a picture out of, and you're pumping it through a mathematical equation that spits out something that, to the normal eye, does not at all represent what's really hidden behind it. So it's scrambled. It's a cipher code. In modern terms, it's a really complex, impossible to define.
Typical email, as it appears, with regular text. When that gets scrambled, we're looking at that. No one's going to. There are varying levels of encryption, different algorithms that come into play. Right now, the gold standard for encryption is called AES. If you're using AES encryption on documents, there's a very good chance, and I've heard this, that notwithstanding the power of the NSA, if you have a document that has been encrypted with AES level encryption, they're not going to be able to get it, not unless they have the passphrase or the passcode to get it into the lock. Right. Everything that gets encrypted has to have an encryption key, which is nothing more. It could be a signature, it could be a thumbprint, it could be a passcode, whatever it might be. Something that will get transformed into the magic key that opens up that document. If that key is your birthday or your dog's name or the word password, well, it becomes elementary at that point. Notwithstanding the incredible strength of AES encryption, it's child's play. To decrypt the document can happen really quickly with automated tools.
What if they want your password line?
Well, we have a solution for that too, Mr. Ramon. Yes, we do. There are different email encryption option systems available. Office 365 has a really nice one. It costs about $2 per month per user, I think. You have to sign up for certain services, but it operates in such a way that enables you to pretty transparently and easily encrypt a document or an email. Send that to your client. Your client clicks on a link and is taken back to a Microsoft Office 365 web portal where he either enters in his Office 365 credentials if he has an account, or you can text him or call him with a password that he can enter, and then he'll be able to see the document. And it's all encrypted along the way. That's pretty as good as it gets.
That's best in class, I think. Because you're not, it doesn't rely on, there's a system called PGP which relies on you having two different cipher keys, and the other person also has to have two different cipher keys. That was the screenshot I showed you a little while ago where it converts everything to gobbledygook. The recipient essentially just clicks on the link and opens up the web browser or Firefox or Chrome or whatever, and they see whatever you're sending them. It's encrypted the whole way. It's as good as you're going to get with existing technology.
And they can do the same thing. They can send encrypted messages back to you. Pretty easy. Scott, were you already using a service called ShareFile?
Yeah, our firm uses ShareFile, and it is, as the name implies, to share files in an encrypted fashion. So if I intend on sending you some documents that are sensitive in nature, I'll select ShareFile to send them to you with. I will share your password with you and another means of communication, and you'll be able to open that encrypted file and display on your screen. But to anybody who were to intercept that in the middle would not be able to read it unless you cut and pasted it into another document. As it rests on your computer, it would not be so.
There's one little,
Does that mean that each client has to have a different password?
you could give, it's up to you, you could give each client the same password.
Then any client who's ever you had would know how to open any document that you ever sent.
The way this works, Carl, if you send a document to me on your client, I get a link that's specific to me to click on, specific to the document you want me to see, or the email you want me to see. If I don't have that link, and it's two-factor, I need the link and I need the password to get in. I can't, just having the password is not going to do it. Not perfect, but pretty good.
You could use something like the client's social security number. Obviously, it's terrifying when you start using social security numbers, but that is something that they are going to know, and probably no one else is going to know, potentially themselves.
One little issue you need to know about. When the message gets decrypted, it is temporarily posted for viewing on Office 365 servers. Just how the system works. Not ideal, but far more secure than having unencrypted email traverse the phone.
And really hard to guess what the path to get to that encrypted, now decrypted document is. You'd have to be uncanny.
This is a list, we'll go over it now, a bunch of different solutions. Some are free, some are paid. They all work differently. Some work with Outlook, some work with web-based email. But there are a ton of different solutions available on, let's say, maybe at least 10, of solutions that you can choose from to encrypt email. Some are better than others. As Sean pointed out, Office 365 is just pretty user-friendly. So, recap very quickly. Turning communications. Using Google or Yahoo, bad idea to do that. Or any free email address to show them now. Obtain an enforceable obligation to preserve confidentiality and security pursuant to opinion 701 if you use off-site storage, and that includes Office 365 or any other online service. If you're going to be able to withstand an accusation or a complaint on that basis. Include or consider including a disclaimer or privacy notice in your email and retainer agreement to describe to your client exactly how the information is going to be dealt with and how you're going to communicate with. You can have your client declare communication meeting and preferences with you. Now, this is all getting, I know not everybody does this, I'm pretty sure no one does it. But as we're looking ahead, this is going to become, the de facto standard in the future. And then what you have to do, if you're sending sensitive attachments across the internet, you absolutely, positively have to encrypt in order to maintain confidentiality and to observe your ethical obligations as a user. Okay? How do you delete things? Can you delete things? Can you ever delete things? Well, this is opinion 692. Actually, this appears in, this is a case, 163 NJ LJ from 2001. It addresses opinion 692. We stated that even when a closed client file is destroyed as permitted after 7 years, simply placing the files in the trash would not suffice. Appropriate steps must be taken to ensure that confidential and privileged information remains protected and not available to third parties. Well, closed file is shredded. Micro shredding now is just merely stripping the file isn't all that secure. What about digital information? Can digital information be resurrected after deleted? Sure.
Yeah, well, unless you securely delete it.
Okay.
The way a hard drive works, the way most operating systems work, when you delete a file, whatever you're doing, you're deleting it. All the operating system is really doing is saying to the hard drive, okay, this is deleted, it's not there. But it's not actually doing anything to the file other than tagging it that it's deleted. There are secure deletion alternatives that actually sit there and take every single bit on that spinning drive that doesn't have deleted information, that does have deleted information, any free space, anything, and writes a whole bunch of random ones and zeros over it so that it's completely unrecoverable. But that is not by default done by Windows or Mac OS when you just hit delete.
Law enforcement agencies, specialized, whether you have the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office here or Scott's agency, the state police, they will resurrect that data if it's not been completely lost. They're experts at it. They're very good. And that data, by the way, is if it's your client, it's a gold mine for the law enforcement authorities. Everything that your client didn't want anyone to see has now been brought back from the dead. But as far as an attorney goes, if you're throwing out the computer, well, even though you may have deleted the documents on it, they're still there. That goes for thumb drives, phones, and CDs. Well, it's not CDs and DVDs so much. Even those, they have to be completely out of order. There's so many different places where data gets stored nowadays, online. Here's one example of what can happen. This is a 2010. CBS News went out and they decided, you know what? We're going to go out and we're going to get some copy machines, used copy machines. And they got 4 of them. They bought in New Jersey, as a matter of fact. They paid $300 each for the copy machines. Why did they want them? Because your copy machine works electronically now. Every time you copy a document or scan a document, it actually takes a picture of the document and reports it to a hard drive that is located inside a copy machine. Well, if you have access to that hard drive, you have access to everything that's ever been copied on that machine. So CBS News went out and they got those copies. And what did they find? They found that the Buffalo police, there was actually left on the platinum in one of them, a sex crimes file. They pulled out this. They got sex crimes investigation information, they got TV information, they found a list of narcotic targets, being investigated by the Buffalo Police Department. They found from a New York construction company, 95 pages of pay stubs of names and addresses and social security numbers. They found plans to a building that was being erected at Ground Zero, near the vicinity of Ground Zero, in the wrong hands. What would that be worth? And then they had a health company, Affinity Health, that had 300 pages of individual medical records, including the social security numbers and personal identifying information, all pulled off these secondhand copiers that have been sold to a repurchase. So, one example of, are you taking steps to assure that information that's on your computer hard drive, same principle, exact same principle. If you repurpose it, what are you doing with it? I do wait. Scott, how hard is it to write work? What do you have to do?
In my case, remove the hard drive, put it in a computer that's specifically designed to write characters that I define, starting at sector 0 and ending at sector 10 trillion, whatever they're up to now. And it writes from the beginning to the end. And then it starts over again at the beginning, then does it again, beginning to the end. And it does that, in my case, 3 times. For the ultra-paranoid DoD types, it goes 7 times, at which point that device is considered white to Department of Defense.
You can physically destroy it. We did take a drill and do that too. There are different ways to actually obliterate data, either electronically or physically, but you have to do it. And you're not going to do it. You have to have at least someone on staff. Like we have who our IT specialist in the firm, who's going to do it and make sure that that information is protected. What? Erase before it goes out.
There are companies that specialize in data destruction. So my way, I can reuse that drive again safely, nothing on it. But there are companies who will come by literally with a mobile shredder. Who will take the hard drive, which I have one sitting out there that's opened up, fold it in half, fold it back again, and then spit it through a shredder. And it will literally turn that into metal powder. And I can pretty much assure you at that point, the NSA is not going to get anything about that.
Data breaches. The sexy computer that goes along, at least for us. What can I tell you? I get excited. Everyone is being breached. Everybody. You can't stop it. We now, all the IT professionals realize it, everyone realizes it. Target couldn't stop it. The multi-million-dollar corporations cannot stop it from penetrating the network. Sony couldn't stop it. Home Depot couldn't stop it. And on. You can't stop it. Most recently, Sean, there was the kids company. They made toys. And they had online accounts for the parents. VTech was just introduced millions of child photographs and profile information out the door. You can't stop it. So, you're a law firm. Do you have information that anybody might want to gain access to? Yeah, you do. Social security numbers, confidential information, dates of birth, addresses, telephone numbers, bank account information, all things that you could use to steal someone's identity. One easy way to go about using the information. It could be more nefarious. It could be someone stealing, and this is happening, getting into your servers because there's a pending lawsuit. This recently happened with the Chinese company, where the firm representing the American part of the case had their servers infiltrated by people in China, ostensibly to take out the intellectual property information that was going to become subject to the lawsuit. So do you have information? Yeah. What's prevented smaller law firms from being targeted so far? Well, there's interest, and people are beginning to see that law firms are the right source of this type of thing. You're going to see it more and more. We're seeing it now. Once security specialists is now saying, yes, absolutely, there's a treasure trove of information in attorneys' firms, they're going to put them at risk. Law firm data breach. 24 law firms are victims of the data breach, and I think they said 1 in 4 large firms, and I think it's 15%, actually had, smaller firms had a breach of some sort. Now, that includes, by the way, information being lost, stolen, left on the thumb drive, or anything else is unaccounted for. But still, there's a danger. This is one example of lost data. This has happened several times. It's happened with health information. This is a long one. Lost records, including lost a hard drive, a laptop, hopefully either in the taxi cab or in the subway. Medical records from 161 stent patients that were the subject of a lawsuit against a doctor went missing. And that they included names, addresses, dates, social security numbers, and insurance information. Why? Sean's going to talk about this later on. If there's that kind of information goes out from your law firm, you have an obligation, not just to notify your client, you have an obligation at that point to notify the state police pursuant to New Jersey's law on breaches. The laptop was not encrypted. Now, as hard or as difficult or as tedious as encryption for email might be, encrypting digital devices, that's not hard at all. Not hard at all. Scott, this is yours.
Yeah, and this is just talking about breaches. So a great number of breaches aren't actually the evil bad hacker on the outside. It's from employees and employee misconduct and disgruntled employees. It's also from employees that are just not behaving the way they've been trained to by their information security personnel. And so there's a couple of companies out there that sell data auditing tools. This is just something I included. It's not, my company does not deal with data auditing. But what these tools do is they have a centralized, actually flip the next slide. They have a centralized computer system they call a governance center. And then every other computer system in the company, from cell phones to laptops, have a little application running in the background that reports into this. And every time a device is plugged in, files are copied out, that centralized apologize for the shouting that was here. That centralized computer system gets notice of that, and it puts it through an algorithm. Is this conduct that is unusual? If, for example, employees all have registered devices, and all of a sudden, normally they all use Kingston thumb drives, and they have a list of serial numbers, and that governance center picks up that a Staples thumb drive got plugged into Scott Johnson's computer, and all of a sudden a gig of data got moved onto that drive. Well, that sets off an alarm, and somebody in security says, "Whoa, Johnson just moved a whole bunch of data onto a device." They have a copy of every file that's been moved off, so they can take a look at it, they can see what's been moved off, and it helps the company control their intellectual property. Like most companies, employees do not have rights to the company information and to the data that runs on and through the company network. That belongs to the company. It's a simple notification process, and they're off to the races with a solid way to stop intellectual property.
Sounds like the credit card companies, when they have